It hasn't been my goal to talk very much about Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s candidacy for the Democratic presidential nomination. We did talk about his campaign launch. We talked about polling. We talked about the undeniable reality that the DNC is simply not going to hold debates, as they never do when they have an incumbent president running for reelection. But Bobby Kennedy Jr. has really been scaling up the nuttiness. He did a Twitter Spaces with Twitter owner Elon Musk. And while there were fewer technical glitches, there was certainly no shortage of lies. And the things that Bobby Kennedy Jr. is saying don't make any sense. They don't make any sense. And it's almost getting concerning to a degree. As I told you before, I had dinner once with Bobby Kennedy with a small group. Charming, smart, able to talk logically about so many different issues, just anything, so many different things, knowing that he had some odd views about vaccines at the time. But now it's just building, building, building. He's become the darling of Newsmax and other right wingers. And we have to look at some of the claims he's making because they are so wrong and so dangerous. Business Insider, summarizing the recent Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk, says Robert F. Kennedy Jr. compares Elon Musk to the patriots who died fighting in the American Revolution. What on earth? And blames antidepressants for mass shootings. Elon Musk hosted RFK Jr. in a bizarre Twitter space. Bizarre is right. In a bizarre Twitter Spaces conversation littered with falsehoods and conspiracy theories. Kennedy compared Musk to patriots who died in the Revolutionary War. He also claimed prior to the introduction of Prozac, there were no mass shootings in the United States. News to historians. Let's go through this in pieces. Kennedy said, "Thank you for your service to our country, Elon. We lost between 25,000 and 70,000 people during the revolution who died to give us our Constitution. And those people also put their livelihoods on the line. They put their property on the line. They put their financial status and their social status on the line for principles. I've watched you do the same thing." Folks, he's too smart to believe that, right? He's just paying obviously bogus lip service to Elon Musk. I hope, right? I hope. Elon Musk is a billionaire who owns a bunch of companies, has a net worth around or over 200 billion, although maybe it's less now because of the decline in Tesla stock. I don't know. The patriots who fought in the American Revolution, as Bobby Kennedy says, were mostly farmers, artisans, merchants, and laborers who quite literally risked their lives and livelihoods for the cause of liberty and independence from England. Elon Musk hasn't sacrificed his life nor his fortune. Yes, he's lost a few billion. What's a few billion to a guy who's as rich as he is? He's benefited from government subsidies, government contracts, tax breaks for his businesses. The patriots who fought in the American Revolution pledged their lives, fortunes, and quite frankly, put so much more at risk than Elon Musk has even thought of risking. Elon Musk hasn't even consistently shown support for democracy or human rights in some situations. He has done some praising of authoritarian regimes. He's criticized some democratically elected leaders. He's spread misinformation about COVID. I mean, listen, I am not one of these people who says Elon Musk is a uniquely bad guy. Check out my appearance on the Lex Fridman podcast where I say, I think the focus on Elon Musk is just overblown. What he has done to advance electric vehicle technology and battery technology, it's fantastic. It really is. SpaceX, super interesting. He's done a lot of great things, but he's also done things that I think are terrible. And we're now saying he's like the American patriots who fought for independence in the American Revolution. It's just a crazy thing for Bobby Kennedy to say. He also talked about the SSRI violence connection. And he said that, as the article here points out, he laid the blame for the massive increase in mass shootings, not on guns, but on pharmaceutical companies for marketing antidepressants. Quote, prior to the introduction of Prozac, we had almost none of these events in our country. Now, of course, that's not true. Prozac was introduced in the United States in 1987, approved by the FDA. There were endless mass shootings before that, certainly fewer. The population was smaller, and I'll tell you what the real reasons were. But if you look on Wikipedia at a list of mass shootings, you see a bunch of mass shootings in the 20s when the American population was much smaller. Not so many in the 30s and 40s and 50s, but then they start to increase. In the 1960s, we saw mass shootings. In the 1970s, we saw way more mass shootings. In the 1980s, before the introduction of Prozac, we saw even more. So what you actually see is that the number of mass shootings scaled with not only the American population, but the widespread availability of firearms as well as lax gun laws. When you look at a general, now, okay, so we've seen that. It's not true that there were almost no mass shootings before Prozac, just not true. What about a general link between SSRIs, Prozac being one type of SSRI medication, and violence more generally? And this has been asserted before, the claim that SSRIs cause violence. It's sort of like blaming the fire extinguisher for the fire. There's a fire and there's all these fire extinguishers there all of a sudden. SSRIs are prescribed for a number of different reasons, including depression, anxiety, or personality disorders. Most people with depression, anxiety, and personality disorders aren't prone to violence, but some are. And if you believe, as some do, that compared to the general population, particularly certain personality disorders might predispose someone to violence, you might be able to, you might be able to find a correlation between those taking SSRIs and violence, but that would not be proof that the violence is caused by the SSRIs. It would be the classic confounding factor. This is like basic, first level college research methods and stats sort of stuff. In other words, it would be the underlying mental disorder rather than the medication that might be the cause of the violence. But it's really important also to mention that most people who are, quote, mentally ill are not violent. It's also really important to mention that. If you also look at the studies that look at SSRIs and violence, there are often significant methodological limitations, small sample size, lack of control groups, failure to account for other factors that might influence violence, like substance use or abuse, history of aggression, psychosocial stressors, economic issues, etc. So right now, the causal link between SSRIs and violence is extraordinarily weak. Now, I'll give you another side to this discussion. There are studies that suggest SSRIs properly administered can reduce violence by improving mood and impulse control for those who are taking them. So not only is it unfair and misleading to blame the SSRIs for violence based on what we currently know, it actually could be the opposite. This is getting to be pretty dangerous stuff. And I don't really know what the end game is here for Bobby Kennedy Jr. As you all know, he's not going to be the nominee. There aren't going to be debates. I would love to see debates, and I think everyone who wants to run should run. But when you see the right-wingers increasingly excited and titillated by Bobby Kennedy's campaign, that really tells you a lot about the sort of campaign that is being run here. And it's not a particularly exciting campaign to me. I know that there's a handful of people in the audience who seem to like it, but I think that it is essentially a ruse, sort of like Tulsi Gabbard was a ruse. If I'm wrong, I will correct the statement in the future.